All right, so let's see this question now. So we are given a table spending, right? And this is the description of this particular table. So this table logs the history of the spending of a user that make purchases from an online shopping website, and that has a desktop and a mobile application, right? And the platform column over here in this particular table is of type enum, right? And the only values possible for this particular column are either desktop or mobile, right? So essentially what it means is that this table contains the spending history of the users. So it has the user ID, which user actually made a purchase, what was the spend date, what was the platform through which the purchase was made, and as mentioned over here, there can be only two values over here, mobile and desktop. There is no other third value possible over here. And what was the amount of that particular purchase, right? So this is the spending table that we have. Now what we need to do is we need to write a solution to find the total number of users and the total amount spent using the mobile only, the desktop only, and both mobile and desktop together for each date, right? And we need to return the result table in any order, right? So I hope this statement is the problem statement is pretty clear. So what we need to do is for every category possible, we need to find for every spend date, what was the total amount and what was the total users, right? So this is the sample output if you can see over here. So we have the spend date, and on this spend date, what was the total amount and total users for both mobile and desktop, right? What was the total amount and total users for just mobile, right? And again, what was the total amount and total users for just desktop for this particular date, right? So essentially in our output, for every date which is present over here, like in the spending original table, we will have three rows, right? One for both, right? Both platforms, one for only mobile and one for desktop, right? And whatever is the total amount and total users, we have to report that over here, right? And don't get confused with this both. What this means is that we need to find those users who on this particular date made purchase, like one purchase at least, through both mobile as well as from desktop platforms, right? For example, over here, if you see this user ID 1 on spend date 107, they made a purchase through mobile and then they also made a purchase through desktop, right, of 100 amount each, right? So that means this particular user actually made a purchase from both the platforms on this particular date, right? So that's what it says. Now, I hope you understood the question. If not, you can just try to read this particular question one more time and then you will get a better understanding. Otherwise, it's quite intuitive what you have to do. So maybe now you can just pause this video and try to think of a solution on your own. And once you are done, maybe you can just come back and check the solution here, right? Okay, so in this particular question, see, the main idea over here is that we need to do group by, right? So we need to first identify those users who made purchase through desktop, again, who made purchase through mobile, and then through both, right? So we need a way to actually include both in our result, right? So to get both in our result, we will have to first group by user ID and then check the distinct platform for every user ID, right? And for any given user, if I get the distinct count of platform greater than 2, right? Or sorry, greater than 1, it would mean that that particular user on that particular date, of course, you will have to include spend date also in that group by clause along with the user ID. So if any user, if the count of distinct platform for any given user on any given spend date is greater than 1, that means that particular user on that particular spend date made use of both the platforms, right? So I will just flag that particular user, and then later on I can use this particular flag to actually group by on the platform and the spend date to actually get this kind of result, right? So that is the very high level intuition of what we can do and what we are going to do. So now maybe just let's just jump to our ID and write a SQL query to solve this particular question. All right, so now let's write the query that we just discussed. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to find all the combination of the user ID and the spend date where the count of the distinct platform is greater than 1, right? And this would mean that this will give us those users who on any given spend date used both the platforms to make at least one purchase each from both the platforms, that is mobile and the desktop, right? So first of all, I will write a query to from the spending table, right? Like this. And I will group by user ID, comma, spend date, right? And both these columns I will also select here, right? And then I will take the count of distinct platforms like this. And I can just rename this particular column as CNT platforms maybe, right? Right? So this will give me for every combination of user ID and spend date, what was the count of the distinct platform, right? And now what I can do is I can use this particular column, that is count of distinct platform, to update my original platform column, right, in the original data. And wherever this count of distinct platform is greater than 1, for that particular user ID and spend date, I will make all the records platform for all the platform column value for all those records as both, right? That's how I'm going to update the platform column in my original data using this particular column, right? So I hope that is clear. Now I will put this result in a CT. I will call this CT as CT underscore platform underscore CNT maybe. And then what I will do is I will now, uh, select from this particular CT, right? I will say select from CT underscore, let me copy, right? From this, and I will also inner join on the original table, right? Because see, original platform table is only available in the spending table, right? The original table. And this particular CT only has the aggregated data for every user ID and spend date. What is the count of the distinct platforms, right? So I just need to use this particular column to actually update my original platform value to both if valid, right? If the count is actually greater than 1. But the original platform value I have to get from the original spending table only, right? That's why I will inner join on the spending data set, call it B, and I will join on A dot user ID is equal to B dot user ID and A dot spend date is equal to B dot spend date, right? And now what I can do is I can select my A dot user ID and A dot spend date. So for every user ID and spend date, now I can just put a case statement and use this particular count platforms table from A table, right? Which gives me essentially the count of the distinct platforms, right? So when count of platforms is greater than 1, then you give me both, right? Both has the value, and otherwise you give me whatever is present in the original platform column, and that original platform column is now available in the spending table, which is B, right? So I will say B dot platform like this, right? And I will just end it, and also I will alias this back to platform column only, right? So now this way I have updated the platform column in the original table from the original data set, and I have marked those user ID and spend date records where the count of the platform is greater than 1 to both, right? Instead of the actual platform values, right? That's what I've done in this particular expression, right? Now what I can do is I can also take the amount column from my B table, right? Because that also is something that I essentially need to show in my result, right? The total amount for every platform and the spend date combination. So that's why I will need the amount column from my original spending table, that is B. And yeah, I think this is good. I can just remove one comma from here, or I will just remove it from here. Yeah. So this is fine. Now if I go on to just select it and check the results once, how they look. So they look like this, right? So for every user ID and spend date, I have the platform and the amount, and the platform has been updated to both for those combinations of user ID and spend date where the count of the distinct platform was greater than 1, right? That means where the user for that particular spend date actually used both the platforms to make at least one purchase each, right? That's what it means, right? And otherwise, we have used the original platform values, right? So that's what we have done up till now. Now what we need to do is we need to group by, this particular platform and the spend date that we got, and we have to take the count of the distinct users and also the count of the sum of the total amount. That's what we need to show in our final output, right? So to do that, we will have to use this particular data set that we got as a result of this query. So what I'll do is I'll put this result in another CT and call it as maybe CT underscore platforms, right? Like this. And then I will just select on top of this. So I will select from this CT now, right? And I will group by, the spend date and the platform, right? That's what I'm going to do. And I will also select this over here, right? And now what I will do is I will take sum of amount, right? Call it as total amount, right? And I will also take count of distinct user IDs, right? And I will call it as total users, right? So this is what I will do. And now see if I run this now, let me just place it like this. Yeah, now if I just run this, I will get this result set and I will have for every spend date and for every platform, what is the total amount and total users, right? If the platform is both, I will get like a sum of both those records from the original table where that particular user actually used, each of the platform. So I will get the total sum and I will get the total users who had used both platform for, each spend date, right? And similarly, I will get it for every platform, right? So that's what I will have. But now, what do you see in this particular data set, right? In this output. So for sure, there is a value of both for 1st of July. There is a value of desktop for 1st of July, and there is a value of mobile for 1st of July. But if you see 2nd of July, we have a value for desktop and mobile, but we don't have a value for the platform both, right? And why is that the case? Because obviously, like in the original spending table, there would have been no record wherein a user on this particular date, that is 2nd of July, used both the platforms to make, one purchase each at least, right? There was no such user on this particular date, and that's why there is no record of both, right? Which makes sense, right? But then what we need to do is in the output, we still need to have the record for the both platform for every date which is present in my original data set. And if there is no such user who actually used both the platform, I will have to put 0 in the total amount and the total users. But that record should be there, right? That's the need, that's the requirement. And not only for the platform equal to both, I should have this. Even if there is a missing entry, like there is no user, for example, on a given date who made any purchase using a desktop, right? So there will be no entry for desktop for a particular date, right? But then still in the output, I should have a value for platform equal to desktop for that particular date, and again the total amount and total users should be 0 for that particular platform. That's what I need to do. So essentially what we need to do is that for every distinct spend date which is present in my original data set, I have to take all those dates and I have to combine them with all the distinct platform values possible. That is both desktop and mobile, right? All these three platform values should be combined with every spend date which is like distinctly available in my spending original data set, right? So essentially what we are saying is that for every spend date, I will have now 3 rows in my output and 3 rows corresponding to each of the 3 platforms possible. And then I will have the total amount and total users. If there is no platform used for a particular date, then total amount and total users for that particular platform for that particular date will be 0. That's essentially what we need to do, right? So I hope you understood now. So how can we achieve this, right? So we can maybe make use of derived data sets over here. First of all, we can take the distinct of all the spend dates from my original data set, right? And I can just put it in a data set. And then I can take the distinct of all the platform values. And those distinct values will be just 3. One will be desktop, another will be mobile, and then third one will be both, right? So these two distinct data sets now, distinct dates and distinct platforms, now I can cross join. And in that way, I will get a combination of every spend date with every platform, right? So every spend date will now be repeated 3 times for every platform. If I do a cross join between these two, data sets, right? So that's essentially what I'm going to do now. I will first take the distinct of all the spend date values from my spending data set, and then all the distinct values of the platform, and then I'm going to do a cross join, right? So
and
let's do that
a
now.
dot
What I'll do is I'll
platform
put this particular
is equal to b dot
result in
platform.
another, right?
CTA
That's
maybe
how I'm
I will
going to
call it
join,
as
and
CT
now I can
temp
take the spend
results
date
maybe, right? Like this,
and the the
and
platform
place it under braces.
from the A table,
That is
and
from the
now what I
CT,
can
so
do
that I
is
get all the
I can create
combinations
another
possible,
CTE and
to
the
actually
amount,
take the
that is all the distinct
the
dates possible,
total
right?
amount.
So I
I
will
can
take
maybe name it as
from my
combinations
B table,
don't go
right,
on the
which is
names
the
of the
temp
CT. I'm
results
just
table,
naming them
right?
as
So
in
B
what I'm
dot
getting
total
in my
amount
head, comma
while
B
I'm
dot
typing, but they are
total
not
users
like
as well,
exactly
right?
intuitive. So
This I'm going
yeah,
to
I'll
take from my
just,
B table,
and also
take
like
the
what we need to
distinct
do is
dates
we
over
have to
here
handle the null.
from
So
my
wherever there
spending
is no
data set,
match
right?
between these two tables, so then
So I
these
will say
two columns,
select
total
distinct
amount and total
spend
users, would
dates
be null. So I can just coalesce that
from spending, right?
to
This will
0,
be
the
right
distinct date data set,
like
and then I
this.
will take all the distinct platforms in another CT. I will call it as maybe uh,
Right,
CT
like this
underscore
I
say
can
all
do,
platforms,
right?
and that's it, right? Now I
And
guess
over
if I
here
run this,
I can
I should get my final
do
output.
something like this.
So if you see over here, for
Select
every spend date, we
both
have all the platforms, and of course, these
as
two columns
platform,
I will have to rename
right?
as the
Then I
original
can
names.
union
So let me quickly do
with
that.
select
I can say as
mobile,
this,
and also I can
and then
say
I can again union
and
as
say select
total users, right?
desktop,
Let me
right?
format it a bit just
That's
to improve
essentially
the
what I can do.
readability.
This will give me
Right? A list of all the three distinct
like
platforms
this,
possible, right?
and also
And
let me
now
bring
all
it
what I
over
need to do
here
is I need to cross join these two data sets, right? So I will
and
say
here.
select from
Yeah, this is
CT
fine.
combination,
So
which
now
is
if
my
you see,
distinct dates
if I
data
run
set.
this,
I will get the
right,
final output. I
and I
have
will
for
say
every
cross
spend
join
date, I have rows for every
the
possible
CT all
platform, and
platforms
then the
data
corresponding
set,
total
which
amount and
is
total
essentially
users,
my
and
for
distinct platforms data
whichever
set.
platform
And now
for
I
a
will
given date.
select
If
this
there was
spend
no
date
A,
record available in the
right,
no user available
A
in
dot
the
spend date
original spending
like
table,
this,
then for
just to
that
be clear,
particular platform for that particular
and
date,
B
we
dot
get total amount and total
platforms
users as 0, right?
platform,
So
right?
this is the
So
entire
this will give me
solution.
a
This is what we
combination
had
of
to
all
do.
the spend date
I hope you
and
understood.
platform possible,
Let me try to show
right?
you the query in
If I
one
run
go, but
this,
it is
just to be sure
little
that there is no
difficult for me
syntax
to
error,
fit the
it
entire
runs
thing in
fine and
one
should
screen
give me the
because
combination
it's a
of
big
all the
query, right?
spend
We
date
have used a
with all
lot
the
of
platforms,
CTEs every day,
right?
but essentially this
Present in my
is how
original
the
data
data set
set.
is repeated
I
thrice
hope you
for
understood
every
it, and I
platform
will
now,
see you
right?
in the next video.
So this is
Thank you.
fine. Now what I can do is, now I can just left join this particular data set, right? The data set that I just got, that has all the combinations for spend date and platform. Now I will join this data set with my temp results, right? The group by results that I got initially. I will left join with that particular data set. And then in the final output, I will take the spend date and the platform from this particular data set, so that I now have the combination, all the combinations possible in my final output. And then I will take the amount and the total users column from that particular temp results, and wherever there is a null, now there will be nulls because wherever there is no match, since this is a left join, it will have nulls in the second in the right data set. So wherever there are nulls, the total amount and total users can be coalesced to 0, right? So that's the logic that I can follow. So what I will do is now I will maybe put this in another CT for simplicity. I will call it as CT underscore platform, maybe underscore combinations, right? Just a second, like this. And I can just do like this, right? And now I can just write the select statement to left join this particular CT, right? Like this. I can call it A. I will say left join this CT with my original spending, sorry, not the original spending table, but the temporary result table, the CT that we created, which has the group by results without all the combinations possible, right? So I will do this. I will call it B, and then I will join it on again A dot, okay, A dot spend date equal to B dot spend date, right? And A dot platform is equal to B dot platform, right? That's how I'm going to join. And now I can take the spend date and the the platform from the A table that is from this CT, so that I get all the combinations possible, and the amount, that is the total amount, I will take from my B table, right, which is the temp results table, right? So B dot total amount, comma, B dot total users as well, right? This I'm going to take from my B table. And also, like, what we need to do is we have to handle the null. So wherever there is no match between these two tables, so then these two columns, total amount and total users, would be null. So I can just coalesce that to 0, right? Like this, right? Like this I can do. And that's it, right? Now I guess if I run this, I should get my final output. So if you see over here, for every spend date, we have all the platforms. And of course, these two columns I will have to rename as the original names. So let me quickly do that. I can say as this, and also I can say as total users, right? Let me format it a bit just to improve the readability, right? Like this. And also let me bring it over here and here. Yeah, this is fine. So now if you see, if I run this, I will get the final output. I have for every spend date, I have rows for every possible platform, and then the corresponding total amount in total users. And for whichever platform for a given date, if there was no record available in the, no user available in the original spending table, then for that particular platform, for that particular date, we get total amount and total users as 0, right? So this is the entire solution. This is what we had to do. I hope you understood. Let me try to show you the query in one go, but it is a little difficult for me to fit the entire thing in one screen because it's a big query, right? We have used a lot of CTEs, but essentially this is how we solve it. I hope you understand.